Hi, I'm Robin Shumays,
And I'm Dr. Mauri Digovaya.
and we're the host of The Purple Paradigm, and we're here to present to you today at the Come 30 Symposium, and we're so thrilled and excited to be here. So let's get started. My presentation is entitled Come to Orgasm, Prince's Treatise on Female Pleasure. Prince mentored and collaborated with many artists throughout his career, spanning well into his later life stages. One of the most accomplished of these mentees was Janelle Monáe. In 2023, Janelle took us on a musical journey of bold sexual liberation with the release of their album, The Age of Pleasure. In an interview with Atlanta's V103 radio station to promote the album, they explained that the definition of pleasure seeking is subjective, stating, "You define your own age of pleasure." A few listens and views of the accompanying visuals reveal that Monet's age of pleasure is rooted in sexual exploration, play, and satisfaction. As a queer femme person of color, their unapologetic celebration of sexuality and entitlement to pleasure stands as a radical artistic statement. But not everyone shared this perspective. After Janelle briefly flashed the crowd at the Essence Festival last summer, Uncle Luke of Two Live Crew fame tweeted, "What is this girl going through? She's never been like this. Is this a midlife crisis?" Luke, whose entire career involved objectifying and profiting off of the bodies of Black women, took issue with Monet's choice to embrace their sexual liberation openly. For Luke and other deep thinkers like him, a woman who is sexually willing is great, but one who has agency over her body is must be going through something like a midlife crisis. In our patriarchal society, the concept of female agency is about as elusive and intimidating as female pleasure itself. One doesn't need to look very far to see that much of what we know about sex focuses on male pleasure. In the article, What Role Does the Patriarchy Play in the Bedroom? Writer Miramac Moran says, while it is now socially acceptable for women to engage in casual sex, their pleasure is not at the forefront. There is a new double standard that accepts sexually active women, but does not accept their pleasure and the agency it gives them. Women are taught from a young age to mask their unhappiness and discomfort as to not make others feel uncomfortable. This leads to feelings of shame and embarrassment when trying to assert themselves. These behaviors frequently extend to encounters in the bedroom. For example, in my own experience, a boyfriend once told me to shush during sex because I was distracting him when I expressed discomfort. This led me to internalize a belief that it was wrong and negative to ever express anything during sex. For many young women, sex becomes something that is meant to lay back and endure, rather a pleasurable exchange between partners. Dr. Lori Mintz, therapist, speaker, professor, and author of Becoming Clitorate: Why Orgasm Equality Matters, writes, some women and men come to believe, even subconsciously, that a woman's main role is to pleasure men rather than believing sex entails equally giving and receiving pleasure. By contrast, heterosexual men face societal pressure to be the ultimate alpha, expected to satisfy each and every woman. These expectations can create significant stress and anxiety. Men may feel compelled to prioritize their performance and endurance over emotional connection and mutual satisfaction, potentially fostering unhealthy relationships and inhibiting open communication with their partners. Understanding these pressures, women often resort to faking it if they are underwhelmed and unsatisfied in the bed, to avoid hurting their partner's feelings, bruising their ego, or in the worst case scenario, facing emotional or physical abuse in retaliation. All of this fear, societal pressure, and lack of communication have created what has come to be known as the pleasure gap. This gap refers to the disparity in orgasm frequency between men and women in heterosexual relationships. Simply put, men are more likely to be satisfied during sexual encounters than women. According to Dr. Mintz, the heavy focus on intercourse is the primary reason for the pleasure gap between heterosexual partners. She writes, for most women, penetration alone is not the route to ultimate pleasure. Almost all women need clitoral stimulation to orgasm, which is not achieved during typical penetrative intercourse. 29 years before The Age of Pleasure, Janelle's mentor released his 15th studio album. When I first got the CD, I had low expectations. By then, it was well known that Prince was in a serious conflict with his record label Warner Brothers and was rushing out releases to fulfill his commitments and exit his contract. A version of the title track had been circulating in bootleg circles for about a year, so I assumed it would be essentially the same song. When I played it, I was completely blown away. The earlier version had a ridiculously funky, thumping bass that grew through the whole track. It was sexy and danceable. But this new version was an entirely different experience. So let me break this down for you as best I can. Prince's artistry is why I'm here today, why I will continue to do the deep dives, dissect his work, and spread the word to the masses. However, I will never shy away from the fact that I was drawn to his sex appeal. It's off the charts. You can't talk about Prince and ignore the fact that most of his music was sexual. This runs deeper than sex, though. Prince didn't just sing about sex arbitrarily. One part of the equation that isn't talked about enough, yet is a compelling aspect of his persona and legacy, is his deep connection to women. He didn't just fancy us, he made the study of women a life's work. This connection profoundly resonated with us, tapping into our most primal instincts in ways that were not only just sensual, but vulnerable and raw. At the Triple Threat 40 Symposium, there were two key moments that made me want to explore the topic of Prince and female pleasure. The first was when Dr. Mauri was moderating her panel and she described hearing Lady Cab Driver as a young girl and determined that Prince's message was, I get to have an orgasm. The second moment was when a female collaborator and girlfriend, who shall remain nameless, mentioned in casual conversation that he was really into the Kama Sutra and very keen on helping you figure that out. That, in this instance, was achieving an orgasm. The look on her face as she reminisced about this was indescribable, and I nearly fainted from hearing this confirmation. Prince's commitment to female pleasure is evident in many of his lyrics, and profoundly so in the title track for the Come album. Listening requires the right circumstances. I personally suggest headphones, a glass of wine, an empty house, lit candles. Prince begins telling his partner how he'd like to start their date, but ultimately his goal is to make sure she comes. He wants her to lay back and dream while his tongue works its magic. When it happens for her is when and only when it will happen for him. He later tells her not to worry about her reputation, and he's about to achieve what her last lover couldn't. At exactly 7 minutes, Prince begins making licking sounds and sucking sounds in stereo, and he's serious about this. Meanwhile, the horns turn horny, transforming from their jazzy, funky bop to a musical representation of a woman about to come. I find this part of the song a fascinating moment of how Prince used instrumentation to tell a story. You could almost imagine him recording one of his lovers and transcribing her vocalizations into horn parts. Right at 11 minutes, come climaxes, and we are left in the musical afterglow for the last 13 seconds. Now, Orgasm isn't much of a song. The moaning is of Denise, Vanity, taken from an unreleased track, Vibrator, recorded with Prince in 1983 before she left their relationship. While Vanity gleefully pleasures herself after buying a total of 10 batteries in Vibrator, the tone of Orgasm is much darker. He tells her that she doesn't have to be shy. It's only you and I, as a distorted guitar and ocean waves crash in the background. Once those fade, Prince encourages Vanity as she reaches climax. In this instance, he is a voyeur and a cheerleader. He is not threatened or intimidated as his love pleasures herself. He enjoys her pleasures as much as he did when he provided it to her himself and come. Prince is sending a direct message on how women deserve to be pleasured, but also a guide for their partners on how to do it, and how it's okay to sometimes sit by and let her take the wheel with encouragement and love. Why is this important? Well, Prince's exploration of female pleasure through songs like Come and Orgasm provided a nuanced commentary on the importance of female agency and satisfaction. His approach was not merely eroticism, but about creating a space where women felt safe, understood, and truly valued. As we continue to uncover and rethink themes through the lens of Prince's art and life, works like Come and Orgasm offer a guide for understanding the complexities of desire, connection, and pleasure. In a society that still struggles with the double standards surrounding sexual agency, Prince remains a radical and necessary voice. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to the lovely Dr. Mauri.
Thank you so much, Robin. So, in complement to Robin's presentation, my presentation is From Ecstasy to Isolation, Sexual Empathy and Dualities of Pain and Pleasure in Prince's Come album. Prince's 15th studio album, Come, in 1994, released on August 16th, stands as a provocative testament to the multifaceted nature of sexuality, emotional vulnerability, and personal introspection. Through its intricate layers, the album showcases Prince's unparalleled ability to navigate the complexities of human desire and emotional turmoil. This paper explores these layers, spotlighting the key tracks Come, Pheromone, Papa, Dark, Solo, and Orgasm. These tracks give the listener an opportunity to explore the erotic dualities of Prince's mind as it juxtaposes pain and pleasure, the spiritual awakenings tied to the female orgasm, and his commitments to surfacing emotional depths that position him as a connoisseur and master of all things that will make you come. The title track begins with Prince saying, "If you're 18 and over, come here. I've got something for your mind. Come." These opening lines set the stage for a grown folks' exploration of eroticism and sensual power that bridges sexual connection, that straddles the borders of spiritual awakening via sexual climax. In this track, Prince is the dominant lover who is guiding clitoral stimulation via acts of cunnilingus with sounds of tongue sucking and licking, strategically sounding off in the right and left speakers as he's willing to do his duty there. His encouragement to his partner is that no more will you cry. Come. The spirit's calling. Here's a reason why. Come. If you had a chance to see the future, would you try? Come. If you will, so will I. Complementing the lyrics is a musical interlude where the horns replace Prince and build a melodic odyssey from a low volume to a peak performance crescendo, mimicking the orgasmic climax that he's been plotting for the entire track. This is a key moment where the listener is both voyeur and participant to his dominance that went from, when I call you up, I want to tell you what to wear. Don't be surprised if I tell you to go bare. Two, it's no wonder there's a puddle there, holding it in for so long. You know you can let it go. It won't be wrong. In true Prince fashion, pleasure evoked in the song is not fleeting or superficial, but a portrayal that is profound and life altering. The transformation is not just about the physical act, but about the opening of oneself up to new possibilities, where his once described celibate friend has the chance to experience climatic care as her pleasure is central to the experience, and Prince is the lover who makes her say, "Ooh, baby, you're so good." The opening lines to Pheromone continue the mystical intimacy as Prince invites the listener into a shadowy realm of sensuality and desire. The track begins with the repeated command, "Come," as ocean waves crash in the background, suggesting an irresistible pull into an erotic experience that is inviting, overpowering, and sacred. The opening lines of this track draw parallels to the biblical book, The Song of Solomon, chapter 2. This text is often described as an allegory of divine love, as it's a celebration of romantic and erotic love that is anchored in poetic imagery for the beauty of love, as is Pheromone. In the Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 3 to 4, the beloved says, "As the apple tree among the tree of the woods, so is my beloved among the sons. I sat down under his shadow with great delight, and his fruit was sweet to my taste." Similarly, Prince begins Pheromone with an invitation. "Come, lie down beneath my shadow with great delight, and your feel will be sweet to me." Both passages use the metaphor of lying in the shadow of the beloved as an expression of deep intimacy and trust. The shadow represents protection, closeness, and the comfort of being in the lover's presence. Love's intoxicating power is expressed in chapter 2, verse 4. "He brought me to the banqueting house, and his banner over me was love." In Pheromone, Prince echoes this sacred and intoxicating aspect of love with the line, "Therein my virgin loves wine." Both texts link the act of love to a ritualistic or spiritual experience, elevating physical desire to something more profound and sacred. Lastly, the duality of love and desire show up in both pieces, where the Song of Solomon explores the joy and the longing that is embedded in love. Chapter 2, verse 16 says, "My beloved is mine, and I am his. He feeds among the lilies. The verse speaks to a mutual possession and satisfaction that comes with love. Princess Pheromone introduces a dark duality, blending erotic pleasure with elements of obsession and danger. In the lines, he begs for love while she's disgusted more, and I'm on fire because I've never seen her nude before. I want to save her, save her. I want to watch, watch. All my vital signs go up a couple of notches. When he unties her, she runs to the open floor. He trips and grinds her right there, all on the floor. On the floor. The tension between power and vulnerability become more pronounced. The protagonist is caught between his own voyeuristic thrill and a deeper sense of empathy or guilt for the woman's predicament. However, he keeps looking as the graphic and disturbing imagery of he pulls a gat. This is how they play the game, blurs the line between eroticism and violence, raising questions about the darker sides of sexual power dynamics. Both Song of Solomon and Pheromone explore the powerful, transformative nature of love and desire, but they do so from different perspectives. Song of Solomon celebrates the beauty and sanctity of love, often using nature and wine as symbols of its purity and pleasure, whereas Princess Pheromone, while echoing some of these same themes, introduce a modern and darker twist, highlighting how the same forces of love and desire can lead to obsession, conflict, and danger. This contrast serves to underscore the multifaceted nature of human intimacy, where the boundaries between sacred and profane, joy and peril are often blurred. In stark contrast to the sensuality of Pheromone, the track Papa offers a poignant portrayal of abuse, highlighting the dichotomy of love and pain. The story told in Papa is one of child abuse, where a father exerts control and punishment over his young child in a brutal and emotionally damaging manner. The lyrics, he got snatched by his papa, who then opened up the closet door and pushed a 4-year-old down onto the closet floor, depicts a scene of physical and psychological violence. The repetition of the word smack in the chorus underscores the brutality of the father's actions and the helplessness of the child. The outro of this track begins, "Don't abuse children or else they turn out like me." And it ends stating, "If you love somebody, your life won't be in vain. And there's always a rainbow at the end of every rain." These lyrics reveal Prince's raw vulnerability and his willingness to confront difficult subjects head on, while simultaneously offering redemption with the hope that love, even amid suffering and abuse, can heal and transform the hurt into a multicolored possibility that breaks the darkness. Or does it? Two tracks later, we're listening to Dark, which describes the emotional distress and betrayal following a painful breakup. The recurring motif of darkness is emphasized by the repeated phrase, "so dark, dark, so dark." In his emotional suffering and lament, he sings the sun ain't never gonna shine and that he is still lost in the shadow of pain. The emotional fallout from the relationship has left him in a state of despair and confusion, whereas Solo takes the pain out of the relationship and brings it to Prince as an individual. Solo is an aria where Prince's vocal range provides the musicality of the track, with strategically placed instruments and the sound of a thunderstorm siloing Prince's vocals. Lyrically, musically, and emotionally, the track is isolating and, in hindsight, was preparing his audience for his isolation from the career he had created. The cover art of Come displays his birth year, 1958, and 1993, which was the beginning of his challenges with Warner Brother Records. On this track, he shares, "I'm so lost, no one can find me, and I've been looking for so long, but now I'm done. I'm so low. My name is no one." Shortly thereafter, he became the unpronounceable love symbol. Orgasm is the final track on Come. The intentionality of Prince saying, come on, over a vibrator sounding guitar riff that leads into Vanity's moans of oh yeah, proves that Prince is the ultimate orgasmic climax coach. His sexuality emphasizes and encourages with keep going. You're almost there. Don't be shy. It's only you and I. Imagine what you look like across the room. And she comes. He ends the album by saying, "I love you," which he does all of us because he just gave the pleasure, pain, and orgasmic liberation of what it means to come. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed what we had to say, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
and we trust that you came along with us for the ride. Thank you. Love you all. Bye.